everyone, I'm Mercedes, and thanks again for joining me today for another recycling project. Well, if you're wondering what I'm doing crouched down, I'm actually going to be stepping out of this frame because we're actually going to do a quick review on our tie-dye knot technique. Now, I hope you join us for segment 2 where we're actually going to do the technique and dye it up with 3 different colors. So let's get started. And always remember, if you miss any of the tips, please visit us at www.m721organics.com, and on the home page there'll be some simple steps in order for you to get that free download. So let's get started, and I'm going to step out of this frame. Well, you can actually do this technique today, and I'm hoping that you could see this because I actually got it started on one of the sleeves. If you have any solid shirts that you definitely want to reinvent, this would be a quick and easy way on how to do this. Now, before you start, you're actually going to have to do a little bit of pre-planning, and always decide if you want your dye to start at your shoulder seam. Now, I definitely want to include my shoulder seam, so that's where you're actually going to start the twisting process. Now, the indicator is that before you start your first knot, you have to pass your armhole. Now, once you pass that armhole, that's where that first knot is going to take place. Now, the cool thing about this technique, and I'm going to come in close to the camera so you can actually see this, is that you can actually decide not to include that shoulder seam area and maybe just stripe your sleeves. Now, again, if you definitely have, let's say, a screen that you want to put on into your front body, maybe you want to do some hand embroidery or some machine embroidery, or even add on some rhinestones, whatever it is that you decide to do will be okay. Now, I definitely welcome you to use your rubber bands in case you feel a little bit better to continue securing your knots. Now, always remember that the key to the knotting technique is that the closer that you have your knots, the less distance there'll be in a stripe. Now, and also remember that the wider your knot is, the wider the stripe. The thinner your knot is, the thinner the stripe. Now, you're going to continue this process, and like I said, I welcome you to use those rubber bands in order to avoid anything coming undone. Your shirt is actually going to start looking a little boxy. Now, if you've been looking through some of the fashion magazines and you've been seeing that a lot of the designers are definitely playing around on how they dye up their fabric, you could definitely take that same shirt and do the knotting technique at each corner. You'll definitely probably get your center without any type of dye. But again, I welcome you to do the knotting technique at the collar, and maybe you'll come up with your own unique design. And just continue doing the process until you get a box. Now, always remember that the deeper that you start twirling, that it will be your actual saturation line. Now, if you don't have a long sleeve shirt and you definitely want to do the technique, and you're actually going to make something brand new, then I welcome you to revisit your fabric scrap spin. Maybe you have a ½ yard cut, or maybe as much as 2 to 3 yards. This would be a great time to come up with some holiday projects. Now, I actually started doing it at one corner here. Now, why am I doing the corners? Well, this actual technique, if you're familiar with the spiral technique, which is definitely cool and very retro, normally you see that spiral at the center of a top. The great thing is that a lot of the designers have been using the spiral technique, but they've been doing it off center, and it actually gives the tops a completely different type of look. Now, this knotting technique will do the same thing. You're going to continue doing this, and again, always remember, the deeper that you start doing that twirl, the deeper your saturation line. So always have your sketch handy in case you have something in mind that you definitely want to centralize with your pattern. Basically, that's it. You're going to continue until you are satisfied with the amount of knots. So, thanks again for joining me today. I hope to see you for that second segment where we're actually going to take these tops and we're actually going to start dyeing them using 3 different colors. Well, in case you don't, Please remember to always continue to recycle, continue to recreate, and continue to reinvent you because you're worth it. Thanks again, and I hope to see you again very, very soon. Take care.